How's it going, motherfuckers? I want to do a little follow up here to Star Wars: The Last Jedi and the response from the fans. So, I spent a great deal of my review talking about how the fans have reacted to The Last Jedi, and it's not really that big of a surprise. You know, fans have been complaining since the prequels. They've been complaining since the special edition films. They've been complaining about Force Awakens. It is an endless cycle. And I said it's a generational thing. Fans from one generation to the next are going to complain because you're just never going to get a movie that captures the same magic of the originals because they're the originals. And there's no way you could really match that level of nostalgia. You see, there could be a movie that could be better, when you kind of think about maybe, the complexity of the script, the complexity of characters, character development, and the amount of meaningful scenes in a film. But it doesn't really matter because it's all up to the individual and your sense of nostalgia, how you mentally analyze a film based on your experiences, whether you were viewing this movie at a more positive time in your life or versus when you were viewing another movie at a more negative time in your life. Films, just like anything, video games or TV shows or just life events in general, we're going to respond to different things and moments based upon, when they happened. So it's all up to the individual. And this is, what we're faced with here when it comes to The Last Jedi. Many people are older, and of course, as people get older, they usually don't get happier. They don't get more childlike. They don't become more endearing. They become more jaded. They become angrier. They become, more impatient. Or it really depends. Some people have become more patient. Really, like I said, it's up to the individual. But The Last Jedi is getting hammered as of late, and a lot of the complaints is I've seen a lot of different things that it's just not good. It does too many new things. I haven't seen that it doesn't do enough new things. So at least most people could agree on that it's new, but most people are saying that it's not quite up to par what they were looking for. So I've already talked about this in the previous video. People complained that the prequels were not like the original trilogy, and they complained that Force Awakens was too much like the original A New Hope movie, the first Star Wars movie release. So I said it's like an endless cycle. One thing can't be as good as the next, even when something is better. Like most people agreed that Force Awakens was better than the prequels, but they still complained because they said it still wasn't as good as the original. So you see, like I said, that's the endless cycle right there. You're never going to get it up to the level of when you first viewed those movies. You saw them as a child because those are the first films that you saw. Some saw the prequels first, and they might have a different view on that depending on your age, your generational. Time period that you were born into. It kind of depends on what you saw first. So if you saw those movies with brand new eyes, it's just there's no way that you're going to ever be able to find a movie superior to those because you have those memories, you have the nostalgic feelings towards those films, and there's no way another film, especially a Star Wars film, is going to come along and dethrone those feelings and that nostalgia you have towards those original movies. Now, another complaint, what I'm seeing is that there's too much SJW stuff going on in these films, and guys, I saw this in Force Awakens. Not in it, but I'm saying about it. People were talking about this, and I'm just not seeing it, guys. Look, Disney is a giant monopoly. I am not a big fan of how they're handling Marvel. I'm not a big fan of how they're buying up every single franchise in tarnation. I mean, they are out of control. They are buying up every single property that is popular, and it's a bit alarming. Like I said, there's supposed to be rules to stop this type of stuff from happening. These it happened once before in Hollywood, and it shouldn't happen again. Where they're basically shutting everybody else out, and they're just owning all these money making blockbuster properties. Now, we could also blame the studios for selling out these things, like Fox actually selling to Disney in the first place. They're not really helping that cause much by basically and literally selling out to them. But it's really up. It's hard to resist a $1 billion offer. It was more than $1 billion offer. So we can't really put ourselves in those shoes. But as far as SJW stuff goes, me more than probably a lot of people that watch my videos talks up about the SJW bullcrap and talks about what's going on. I've talked about the actors. I've showed videos. I've done reactions about actors and celebrities and how they were acting in a political manner that just is completely atrocious, and their behavior about said politics. And you know I'm just not seeing that type of stuff happening in these movies. I see where people might be coming from, but I think it's ridiculous. And it comes a time when we're just fishing for reasons to hate on a movie. Just simply because we don't think it's as good. We're trying to just, I don't know why this is. It's kind of like, as somebody had commented, it's just bandwagon jumping. You see a bunch of people with an idea, and you just jump on the bandwagon. It's kind of like net neutrality, for example. People just, they don't know a lot about the subject. They don't really feel the same way at first initially when learning about the topic, but they see a lot of people, and they don't want to be the odd man out. They're not going to be like me, as you know, that doesn't really care what other people think. I'm going to have my own opinion. I'm going to have my own thoughts. And, I think more than a lot of people here on YouTube, I think that I have had probably a different take on many things, more than others. And I simply was not afraid at what the consequences was going to be. As you could see, time and time again, people come at me, and they try to like intimidate my viewpoints. So they're like, oh, you know what? We're gonna make this guy conform, and I never end up doing that. Whether it came to politics or or anything, when it came to wrestling on this channel, TV, movies, I've had a lot of people with a lot of angry opinions towards my opinions, and I never changed them. As you saw, I like continuous locomotive. I just kept on plowing through those opinions and kept putting out my own viewpoints. So it doesn't really matter. But let's talk about what a few of these concerns are in a little bit more in depth. So a lot of the focus is around Holdo, and I even saw Alex Jones put out a video about this on Infowars. And one of his correspondents, Daria, forget her last name, but anyway, she talks about how Holdo is very domineering, how she puts Poe down. She doesn't mention Poe by name, but just a very general. And it's just, okay, that was the kind of the idea of the character, that she's supposed to be the bitch, that she's supposed to be the one that you don't want to see Leia promote. Because you see, when Leia gets injured during the movie, Holdo takes command because she's the vice admiral. And right before she goes into the coma, Leia demotes Poe for his recklessness. And so, there's kind of a conflict there. Poe feels that he should be in charge. He doesn't want to have to answer to this woman. And then we start getting a whole feminism vibe going here. But you see, there really isn't one. It's just because, Leia wanted to put this girl in that position. So, but you could argue, oh, okay, well, that's the way the movie was written. That's the way it was directed. They put this girl in that position, and they wanted to make her like this fem-Nazi character. And it's like, I think you really want that to be the case. You want that to be the narrative during this movie, that they tried to make this movie political and tried to feminize it and diversitize it. Look, guys, I will be as fair as possible when it comes to analyzing this movie. You think that I don't notice since Force Awakens that they have implemented more women into this film, and I don't really have a problem with that because there are females in our military, and that is a worldwide thing. In most countries, militaries, we have women in it. So, when you look back at the original trilogy, there's like no women in it at all, especially in the Empire. The Imperials don't have any female officers. This time around, they do. It's very few and far between. But you could also say that Princess Leia, was she a feminist? She was a main character. She was a strong female role in the original trilogy. And where were the calls about feminism and, that we're just trying to SJW this up the ass? It's just not there because you see, they've always had a strong woman role in one of these movies. So you had you had Queen Amidala, you had Natalie Portman, Padme, in the prequels, and so now we have Rey, and Holdo is not even that big of a deal. She's barely on screen. If you add up all the time she's on screen, it comes to barely even 10 minutes, 8, 9 minutes, really, if I had to add it all up. And and she's there kind of just as a plot device. She's not a main character, and it's to hear Daria of InfoWars really going at it so much. And you guys know that I like Alex Jones. I like to listen to him. I like to listen to his correspondence, and I don't agree with everything in all his perspectives, but I am a fan. But they were dead wrong about this. I mean, she was dead wrong, like trying to make such a big deal about a minor character, and it really felt like they were trying to fish for something, establishment or underhanded about this movie. Look, we all know that Disney, has had a history of kind of putting little things in their films, but this is just not the case. It's like I wanted to go to this movie, just sit back, relax, and enjoy a brand new Star Wars experience. And that's what I did. I did not really look into this very deeply, or, if there really was supposed to be something there. I just don't really think it's as strong as people think it is. Look, understand this, they're going to be pressured. It's not like back in the late 70s and early 80s where they could get away with that stuff. There's outcries from groups all over the place. If they didn't put more women in roles in this film, we would have been hearing it, from everywhere, from all the feminist groups, from all the social justice warrior groups. We would have been hearing it from even politicians themselves. We would have heard, "Where's the women in this movie? Where this movie sexist?" So to avoid all that nonsense, they put a couple of women in smaller roles. Is that really a big deal? I mean, most of the time, Rey is learning from Luke, so Luke is, actually the more advanced Jedi over Rey, so it's kind of not really a thing. Where they tried to also spin that narrative as well for Force Awakens. Oh, Rey is the only one that looks good in the movie, and the other characters are a bunch of goofs. She looks heroic, and the rest of them just look like a bunch of goofballs. And I just really wasn't seeing it. Han doesn't look like a goofball. Kylo Ren didn't look like a goofball. It just, it was forcing a narrative that simply wasn't there. And it didn't go that deep. And people were trying to make like this was a deep rooted, evil seated, put together movie by the SJWs to try to brainwash children. And that this really wasn't, I really don't think that was the intent of this film. Really, what I think they really wanted to do with this film was make money, was to, cater to their Star Wars audience and draw in new fans to a new generation. And they tried to make everybody happy, and including that, because look, guys, if they don't diversify these films, they're going to hear it. I don't think that they really put this movie together with the first thought in their minds, let's make this movie a political SJW crazed fem Nazi fest. that's not what they had in mind at all when they came up with this film. And really, seriously, if you're pushing that narrative, shame on you. It's not that. Like I said, out of everybody on here, you know what I says, coming from a Trump supporter, coming from a guy that's not shy to talk about his conservative politics. I've had many unpopular opinions. People have turned on me. They've unsubscribed from this channel because they know my politics, and I've put them out there. Um, and I've lessened the amount of political videos on this just because really it's kind of the same thing over and over again. So I don't really want to talk about it at this point in time. If it comes a time where I feel I need to talk about it, I will go back to it. But not at this moment. I'm just not feeling it at the moment. Not really feeling very political at the moment. Nothing really needs to be said at the moment on this channel. But the thing is, with that in mind, with those thoughts in your head about my stances on things, do you really think that I would let it slide if I truly thought that this movie was supposed to be a political message with if there were political overtones or undertones to this film, you damn well know. Come on, you guys know, the really loyal subscribers on here, and even the people that just like to haunt me and troll me on this channel. You know that I'd be the first one to tear this movie a new asshole, and I'd go after this film, and I'd go after the director, and I'd go after Disney, and I'd say that they were wrong, for doing this. And I probably would give the movie a bad rating because I'd be like, fuck, you're messing with Star Wars, my favorite film franchise of all time. I would not be letting that go. But I simply just didn't do that. And I don't think Holdo was really supposed to be this big feminazi message. That's just something they put out there because, it's fun to talk about that stuff. It's fun to create controversy and, draw up these rumors and, create theories. And that's fine if you want to make theories and everything. But if you're saying like that's the main message of this film, there really isn't. Like, so Daria from InfoWars, she was totally wrong about what she said. She took the girl's in there for less than 10 minutes. The movie is 2.5 hours. It's not all about Holdo. If Holdo was maybe throughout this whole film and they made it like into a whole bitch fest with her and she's, then I would say something. But that was a small part of the film. And it really did not interfere with my enjoyment. You wanted to hate Holdo, and you didn't want to see things go her way, and they didn't go her way. And you saw in the end, she ends up kind of sacrificing herself in the end anyway. So she ends up dying. So, there you go. She ends up being, not what we originally thought she was. So that really, like I said, you look back, I look back on this film and I'm like, that was not really a bad part. And then you really found out what she was all about in the end, and she didn't really turn out to be such a bad character. She was bitchy the Poe, but in the end, she gave her life, for a final strike, and it was, it was a good moment, also to end the film. And like I said, she wasn't that big of a deal. And guys, seriously, if you're still going after Daisy Ridley, after the performance she put forth in not only this film but the last film, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, you're just not interested in the new Star Wars movie, I guess. I mean, that's got to be the reason why. Because if you're not a fan of Rey, if you just really don't want a female character in the role, that is your personal opinion. I'm not saying you're sexist or anything. Like, seriously. Sometimes we just, like I said, we don't want female Ghostbusters. And I didn't see that movie because I just didn't want to see females in that role. I didn't think, and I didn't like the particular females that they picked. And it's just a nostalgic thing for me. Maybe it was a great movie. Maybe I wasn't looking at it, fairly enough. But, when you have, you have Dan Aykroyd and you have Bill Murray in the original roles, I'm sorry, but, you just can't completely replace those people with a bunch of SNL actresses. It just does not work that way. A couple of low-grade comedians are not good replacements for comedy legends, such as those in the original film. But that was they tried to launch into this whole campaign. The director tried to say that everybody was sexist for not wanting to see a shitty ass movie, and that was not the point. The simple fact of the matter is that it was a shitty ass movie. Not that we were a bunch of sexist pigs that didn't want to see the movie. Because the thing was, not even a lot of women went to see the movie. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna say that the women are sexist? That wouldn't make a lot of sense when the female leads are all women. So, that argument was dashed and destroyed and completely imploded on itself. And the movie really didn't do as bad as, was said to have done. I don't think it was a flop, but, it wasn't, it didn't turn out to be a really big, significant film. And the director had a lot to blame for himself, and you could see the reaction on YouTube. It's just people were not feeling that sort of movie at that time, and they didn't want those number of changes. So I can see, if you have that opinion, you just really didn't feel like seeing Ray, or you just don't like Ray for whatever reason. Those are valid opinions. I can see that. I think it's kind of hard to really say that, but it's just really a preference. You can't really say her performance is bad or it's like overacted or anything. It's just probably simply that you're just not ready for a new Star Wars film. You don't like this particular character and you wish it was somebody else. I fully understand that. I really do. And like I said, a lot of, especially with Star Wars, or especially with these older film franchises that have been around for decades, it's kind of like if they decided to make a Back to the Future 4 finally, and then they just had a female lead. I'd say right now, I would not accept that shit, and I don't care who they put in that role. Like I said, I just don't think it would have been the right role for a female. And coming from a male, I'd get lambasted for that. And why do I not want? Because really, I liked Michael J. Fox. And if they put anybody else in that role that didn't at least remind me of him, then that would just be a huge, massive mistake. And you could say that that's sexist because I just don't want to see a female lead in a Back to the Future film. So that's just a little example for you there. Sometimes we just don't want a certain gender in a specific role. It just would not work. And, that would be like, say, they made a Tomb Raider film. And instead of doing Lara Croft, they decided to cast a male in that role instead, and change the name of the guy. Larry Croft. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's just roles that just don't go with, there's just a man and a woman. It's just, okay, I totally get if that's the reason why. But if you're just kind of making stuff up about this film and trying to say that, oh, it gets a little bit too political and everything, and look, Star Wars is already like, a political message. And the political message is still there. You have a dominating form of government that wants to take over the whole universe, and these people are uprising. It's almost like, it's like the American Revolution. It's just like uprising against tyranny. So I don't think that that's a bad message at all. And then, okay, I also have to end this too. This is just completely crazy too, what Daria of InfoWars said as well. And I got to use that as an example because I just mean this is my idea of a ludicrous rant. She went on to say that that Hux, Admiral Hux, right underneath Kylo Ren, in the First Order, said that he was designed to look like Eric Trump. And, I could see maybe why somebody might say that, but kind of making it a political message. Oh, because he's one of the bad guys, and they're trying to say that Eric Trump is a bad guy as well. Ah, that right there is such a stretch. They're just, no. I'm sorry. This is the same thing that They tried to say as well about Logan when the main character was called Donald, and that was actually the name of the character in the comic as well. It's just no, 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 no. I'm sorry. You just stop trying to ruin. And it's not just Daria of Infowars. It's almost everybody in this. Stop trying to ruin a good movie. Because the thing is, like I said, you know, I'm political, but I don't, and there are some actors that have pissed me off with their political opinions. Many. I've made videos about it, guys. But just don't go fishing for it. Stop trying to grab at stuff that's not here. There's enough in Hollywood to hate. How come when something good comes along, we can't just enjoy it? We ourselves have to make it political. We're mad at the SJWs and we're mad at the libtards in Hollywood for politicizing everything. But then when something comes out, we're actually trying to find a political message in a movie that doesn't really have one. That's not really its purpose. It's just there to entertain. That right there really that's something I want no part of. You can't just go fishing for something that's not there and try politicizing something that wasn't politicized in the first place, because then it's your fault. You're the one for trying to affect the quality of the movie by trying to insert some message that's not there. Because you see, if you try to twist somebody's mind into thinking and trying to analyze something in a certain way, and succeed, well, you could greatly affect that person's enjoyment of the film. That's not what the film was meant to do. So, like I said, you are being just as bad as those in Hollywood that wish to politicize everything. You are creating a fake message that is not there. That's exactly what Daria of Infowars was doing. He was trying to say that Hux, who was in, he was in Force Awakens as well. Making him out to be this like carbon copy of Eric Trump. That's put that, like, what would be the point of that? What would really be the point of putting Eric Trump in there and trying to make him? That would just, I don't know. That would be just way too obvious, and that's not what they meant to do. Just because the guy, and she even admits that a lot of her friends didn't even agree with her. That's right, because he doesn't really look like him. Eric Trump is a lot better looking of a guy than Hux. Hux has a very swarmy type of look to him. Really, I could kind of see where she was coming at there, but with the hairstyle and everything, maybe similarities in the face, but not really that much at all. That's just creating something that is just a little molehill and trying to fucking force it into a mountain. It's just something that's not there. So there you go, guys. I don't really like this whole mentality that's going on. Why can't we just sit back and enjoy a movie and basically just shut the fuck up about it and stop trying to make it into a whole big thing? Because it's not a whole big thing. It's just supposed to be the next entry in the Star Wars trilogy, and it's just there to entertain. It's just there to develop the characters. It's not there to try to, take over the fucking country with some politicized message and try to brainwash us all and the children. That's not what was here. And yeah, okay, so you know what else doesn't? I could even have done this better than Daria. If I was going to go about it and really make a criticism, and I could maybe see where she's kind of drawing this from in a way, but she doesn't. She hurts her cause by not even mentioning it. So, the actress who does play Holdo is very political in real life. She doesn't even mention that. She could have also done this a lot better by saying she starred in a film called Recount. That was very political. And when she won an award for that film, she thanked Barack Obama and the incoming administration and expressed her support for them. But she doesn't even mention that. It has nothing to do with the movie, but I'm just saying that, your message was so sloppily put together, and you tried to create a narrative that just wasn't there. Just disappointed, very disappointed. Anyway, so there you go, guys. There's more opinions from me that I won't step down from. I think this was an excellent film, an excellent Star Wars film, and all the shit that's being said about it, ooh, political, this and that, I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, motherfuckers, until next time.